Good day, everybody. I hope that you're well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 8 English lesson on parallel structure. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of English Language Arts, grade 8. And then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of parallel structures. All right. So the chapter is parallel structure. Our subject is English Language Arts, grade 8. And the lessons that we are going to be focusing on under the chapter of parallel structure is to use parallel structure. All right. So when it comes to parallel structures, right, it is when, let's say, for example, when two or more words or phrases, right, or even clauses are joined by a coordinating conjunction, and that is to form a series, right, then those elements must be parallel in structure. And remember, a coordinating conjunction, it's words that joins either sentences or even words, and our coordinating conjunctions are words like and, but, or, so, right? So when two or more words, phrases, or clauses are joined by a coordinating conjunction. And remember, we said coordinating conjunctions are words like and, but, or so. And it's joined by a coordinating conjunction to form a series. Those elements must be parallel in structure. And when it comes to parallel elements, right, or parallel structure, parallel elements, they have the same grammatical function within a sentence or within the sentence. And if we look at an example, it says the community center is a hub of activity and well equipped for meetings. And if we look at the word that basically joins that to either the phrases or clauses, it is the coordinating conjunction, which is and. So the second element, right, is not a noun phrase which is equipped for meeting, right? So they're basically saying the community center is a hub of activity and a well equipped meeting space. If we were to write it like that, then we would say that both elements are noun phrases. But if we look at the first sentence, right, it says the community center is a hub of activity and well equipped for meetings, meaning that it is equipped for meetings, then it means that this last few words, or let's say the phrase, is basically it's not a noun phrase, right? But if we look at this one that says the community center is a hub of activity and a well equipped meeting space, then this is now a noun phrase, which is the community center is a hub of activity and well equipped meeting space. So both of those sentences are noun phrases. All right. And for joined verb phrases, right? So now if we look at verb phrases or we look specifically at joint verb phrases, right? And for joint verb phrases, each phrase must contain its own helping or model verb. So its own helping verb or it must contain its own model verb, right? Or even it must contain the initial helping or model verb that must apply to all of the phrases. And if we look at an example, right, it says Sarah will order the flowers. So Sarah will order the flowers, pick up the decorations, and might help us set up. So which means that all three of those, let's say, phrases are basically verb phrases. But if we look at the second element, right, the second element is missing a model verb. And then if we, let's say, if we correct that sentence, right, then we can say Sarah will order the flowers, will pick up the decorations, and might help us set up. So now, if you look at that sentence, then all three of the elements, they have a model verb. All right. So once again, we if we look at parallel six, like a parallel structure, right? I wrote it wrong. If we look at the parallel structure, right, then parallel elements, they they have the same grammatical functions within a sentence. So whether we have noun phrases or we have verb phrases, but these parallel elements needs to have the same grammatical functions within a sentence. And that is basically when two or more words, phrases, or clauses are joined by a coordinating conjunction to form a series, then those elements must be parallel in structure. And over here, we are joined by and. So we basically have noun phrases and we basically have verb phrases. And for joined verb phrases, each phrase must contain its own helping verb or it must contain its own model verb. Or the initial helping verb or model verb must apply to all of the phrases. All right. So now we're going deeper into what parallel structures are by going to aplusstudents.ca, and then we will find out more about what parallel structures are. But for now, when two or more words, phrases, or clauses are joined by coordinating conjunction to form a series, then those elements must be parallel in structure. And our parallel elements, they have the same grammatical function in the sentence, right? We have our noun phrases and we have our joined verb phrases. All right, now we're going to aplusstudents.ca and we're going to the lesson where we're going to use parallel structures. All right. So we see that when two or more phrases, words, clauses are joined by a coordinating conjunction to form a series, those elements must be parallel in structure, right? So if the two words, phrases, clauses are joined by coordinating conjunction to form a series, then those words or those elements must be parallel in structure. And our coordinating conjunctions are words like and, but, or, so. Those are our coordinating conjunctions. And if we look at the sentence, right? The first sentence. The first sentence says the community center is a hub of activity and well equipped for meetings, right? So if we look at this sentence that says well equipped for meetings, then it basically means that that second element that I underlined, right, that is not a noun phrase. It is not a noun phrase. And if we look at the word equipped, right, equipped is a verb, right? It is a verb. Now, if we go on to the next one, if we look at another sentence, right, it says the community center. This is now basically us fixing it, right, or rewriting it so that we can have basically both our noun phrases within that sentence. So now it says the community center is a hub of activity and a well equipped meeting space, right? Which means that this word now, well equipped meeting space, it is basically describing the meeting space. It's describing the space, which means that well equipped is now an adjective, which makes both of these phrases a noun phrase. The community center is a hub activity, while a well equipped space. So, which means that both are, or the both elements are basically noun phrases. And for joined verb phrases, right, we said each phrase must contain either its own helping verb or modal verb, or the initial helping verb or modal verb must apply to all of the phrases. All right. And if we look at an example, right, it says Sarah will order the flowers, pick up the decorations, and might help us set up. And if we look at that whole sentence over there, right, the element in the middle, which is the second element, right, it is missing a modal verb. All right. And if we were to fix our verb phrase, right? Because here we see that the second one, this one over here, it is missing a modal verb, right? But now if we fix that, then we can say Sarah will order flowers, will pick up the decorations, and might help us set up. So this is now basically how we fix, so which means that all three of those elements, right, they have a modal verb, which is in element one is will, element two is will, and element three is might. All right, so we see that all three of the elements they have a modal verb, which is will, and might. If we look at another sentence, it says Sarah will order the flowers, pick up the decorations, and help us set up. And in this case, the modal verb applies to all the elements. All right. So we said Sarah will order the flowers, pick up the decoration, and help us set up, right? So which means that our modal verb applies to all of the elements, right? Which is will. So Sarah will order the flowers, pick up decorations, and help us set up. And correlative conjunctions are like both or and, either or, neither nor, and not only but also, must also join parallel elements. All right. All right. So if we look at our correlative conjunctions, right? Remember our correlative conjunctions, like we said, are words like both or and, either or, it's either this or it's that, neither nor, I don't want that one, neither do I want that one, only but also, right? And those are our parallel elements. Well, that's a correlative conjunction. And now, if we look at our sentences, right, it says, Leslie is neither tall nor is she particularly athletic. And we said Leslie is neither tall nor is she particularly athletic. And the next element is the first element is an adjective. And if we look at the next one, it says the first element is an adjective, meaning an adjective, it tells us about the noun or describes a noun, or we can say it modifies the noun, right? And then the second element is a clause. All right. And then if we look at the next one, it says Leslie is neither tall nor, so neither nor particularly athletic, right? So once again, it is like this, it's like we're using the correct words, but we just add different wording to it. And we say that the first element is an adjective, yes. And the second element is an adjective phrase. All right. So before we go on to our test, right, we said when two or more words, phrases, or clauses are joined by coordinating conjunction to form a series, then those elements must be parallel in structure. And parallel elements have the same grammatical function in the sentence. And we said when it comes to a parallel element, right? Parallel elements, they must have the same grammatical functions within a sentence. All right, let's go to our test. We need to use parallel structures by completing the sentence. It says Eric is able to save up money for a trip to island. He will research his ancestry, identify living relatives, and he hopes that he can arrange a meeting. So we need to complete the sentence. So do we say and might email them, or do we say and email them in hopes that he can arrange a meeting? So once again, we're going to say if Eric is able to save up money for a trip to Ireland, he will research his ancestry, identify living relatives, and do we say might email them, or email them in the hopes that he can arrange a meeting? All right, and if we choose the correct one, we can say any. Oh, so which means that he will email them. So not just might, he will email them. Either Whitney will take So either Whitney will take the time to get a scuba diving certificate, or do we say she will miss her family's planned dive, or do we say she will get the diving certificate or will miss her family's planned dive? All right, so we need to either say, do we in the space do we say she will miss her family or will miss her family planned dive? Says either Whitney will take the time to get a scuba diving certificate, or she will miss her family's planned dive, or we can just say that she'll get a diving certificate or will miss her family's planned dive. I think since we are talking about either Whitney, let's try or will miss. Ah, so she will miss. So we should refers to Whitney. All right, Ava, if you confirm that our mailing list is up to date, Dean will stuff the envelopes, address them, and drop them off at the post office. Or do we say, Ava, if you confirm that our mailing list is up to date, Dean will stuff the envelopes, will address them, and drop them off at the post office. So we now need to complete the sentence. All right, so we can say, Ava, if you confirm that our mailing list is up to date, Dean will stuff the envelopes. We can maybe say address them. So Dean will stuff the envelopes, will address them or address them, and drop them off at the post office. Let's see if it's because you see here he already mentions the word will, right? Which is our model verb. So do we say Dean will stuff the envelopes and then address them, or will address them? So just address them because we already added the will there, which is the model verb. All right. Bicycle repair specialist bicycle repair specialist claim that a well-oiled bicycle chain should function noiselessly, last longer or should last longer, shift gears smoothly. Or let's say bicycle repair specialists claim that a well-oiled bicycle should function noiselessly, shift gears smoothly, and last long, or do we say and should last long? So we need to complete the sentence. So, bicycle repair specialists claim that a well oiled bicycle chain should function noiselessly, meaning there shouldn't be any noise, shift gears smoothly, and it says should last long. Ah, so it's just last long, not should last long. So just last long. You see, these parallel structures can be quite, tricky because it's either you should add a modal verb or remove the modal verb. So, yeah. So during hibernation, bears will remain in a small den, roll into a ball, and subsist entirely on their stored fat and body muscle, or do we say will subsist entirely on their body, on their stored fat and muscle? So they will just subsist entirely on their body. All right, so now we're going to complete the new sentence. It says, with the New Deal, Franklin D. Roosevelt sought to stabilize prices, to create jobs, and do we say invest in public works or to invest in public works? So it's basically to invest in public works, right? Because if you just say invest in public works and then it is basically not a proper phrase. Once our dog Rico spied the rabbit, he scrambled under the fence through the recently planted garden and, do we say, raced past the garage in pursuit of our dog. So we said once our dog Rico spied the rabbit, he scrambled under the fence through the recently planted garden and raced past the garage in pursuit of it. So we need to choose either race past the garage in pursuit of it, or do we say and pass the garage in pursuit of it? All right, and that is a verb phrase. All right, we say Vladimir Nabokov who was a famous Russian novelist and, do we say a zoologist or do we say and fascinated by zoology, spoke three languages fluently: Russian, French, and English. So we can say Vladimir Nabokov, who was a famous Russian novelist and Do we say fascinated by zoology? Or he was a zoologist, spoke three languages fluent, which was Russian, French, and English. All right. And if we were to choose the correct one, I think he was more fascinated by zoology. All right. Ah, so he was actually a zoologist. But he was mainly fascinated by, or more like his main work was basically to do with butterflies. All right, so this is now the end of our lesson on parallel structures. We said that parallel structures is when we use two or more words, phrases, or clauses, and it is joined by coordinating conjunction to form series. In those elements must be parallel in structure, in parallel structures, in or in structure, and parallel elements. They have the same grammatical functions in the sentence, right? All right, so this is the end of our lessons on parallel structure. Thank you very much for joining the class, and I really hope you're going to have a good evening further. Goodbye.